The American Embassy by Chimamanda Adichie, adapted by Miss Table. Monday at the American Embassy. She stood in line outside the American Embassy in Lagos, Nigeria, with a blue plastic folder of documents under her arm. She was the 48th person in a line of 200. Her doctor, Dr. Balogun, said yesterday she needed to not think about anything. He refused to give her any more medicine because she needed to be alert for the visa interview. It was easy for Dr. Balogun to say that. Dr. Balogun did not close his eyes and see her son Ugana's small body red on his chest like palm oil in the kitchen. He was only 4 years old. Near the American Embassy there was a photo studio. A tall man took her visa photo on the street. The quality was not good, but then she had no time to prepare. 2 days ago, she buried her child in a grave near her hometown of Umanachi. 3 days ago, she drove her husband hiding in her Toyota to the home of a friend. That was the day her husband escaped their country, Nigeria. And 4 days ago, she did not need a passport photo. Her life was normal. She had taken her son Uganda to school. In the line for the American Embassy, she saw a soldier hitting a man. This reminded her of the men who came to her home 4 nights ago. Thursday night at her house. "Where is your husband? Where is he?" the men asked when they entered her kitchen that night. The men smelled like alcohol and pepper soup. She was never going to eat pepper soup again. "Where's your husband? Where?" the men yelled. "I don't know. He just left yesterday," she said. "Where's your husband? Where?" the men yelled. "I don't know. He just left yesterday," she said. One of the men kicked the television. "You know about the story your husband wrote for the newspaper? You know he's a liar? People like him need to be in prison because they make trouble, because they don't want Nigeria to move forward," the man yelled at her. The man grabbed her. He made her sit on top of him on the sofa. "Leave her alone," another man said. "Let's go." The man slapped her butt. Then her son, Uganda, started to cry and ran to her. The man laughed and said what a nice body she had. He had his gun. Uganda was screaming now. He never screamed when he cried. He was not that kind of child. Then the gun went off, and the red like palm oil appeared on Uganda's chest. Monday at the American Embassy. "You are worried about the visa interview?" the man in line asked her. She did not say anything. She just smiled. "Just make sure that you look the interview in the eye when you answer the questions. Even if you make a mistake, don't change the story, because they will think you are lying. I have many friends who did not get visas for small reasons. Me? I'm applying for a visitor's visa. My brother lives in Texas, and I want to go for a vacation," the man in line said. She thought about the advice from her husband's friend at Uganda's funeral. They told her to tell the embassy people about Uganda, but don't talk too much. Every day people lie to get asylum visas about dead relatives that were never real. Make sure the embassy people believe you. Cry, but don't cry too much. They don't give our people visas anymore, except if the person is really rich. But I hear people from European countries have no problem getting visas. "Are you applying for an immigrant visa or a visitor visa?" the man asked. "Asylum," she said. She did not look at his face. "Asylum? That'll be very difficult to prove," the man said. She wondered if the man in line read her husband's newspaper, The New Nigeria. She wondered if the man knew about her husband. He probably did. Most Nigerians knew about her husband because he was the first reporter to write a story about General Abacha. After the first story, Nigerian soldiers took her husband. He was tortured for 2 weeks in prison. She remembered how people told her husband, "Nigeria will be strong because of you." She remembered her husband's smile, like a messiah. "Many people apply for asylum visas and don't get it," the man said. Do you read the newspaper, The New Nigeria? She asked. Yes, do you want it? The man in line said. No, I was just asking, she said. Very good paper. Those two reporters, they are the kind of people Nigeria needs. They are brave men. If only we had more people with that kind of courage. It was not courage, it was selfishness. Her husband was selfish. He was not the only man in Nigeria who hated the government. Those reporters are brave. That is the problem with this country. We don't have enough brave people, the man in line said. Last Wednesday at home. The second article her husband wrote was trouble. A list of all the killings and contracts under General Abacha. He did not think it was going to make any problems. But then the international newspapers printed her husband's story. General Abacha was furious. People around the world were talking about how great her husband was. He gives a voice to the voiceless. He makes the world know. People called her husband to tell him that the soldiers were coming to arrest him. The word was, this was going to be his last arrest. He was never going to come back. That was when she drove him in the trunk of her Toyota. The next day, he called her from another country, Benin. He was going to America with a visa. Then he was going to apply for asylum. She told him not to worry. She and their son Ugonna were going to be fine. She was going to apply for a visa at the end of the school year, and they were all going to live in America. That night, her son Ugonna did not want to sleep. She let him play while she read a book in the living room. When she saw the three men coming to her kitchen, she hated herself for not making Ugonna go to bed earlier. If only. Monday at the American Embassy. The embassy doors opened. A man in a uniform yelled, "First 50 on the line, come in. All the rest, come back another day." "We are lucky," the man in line said to her. In the interview room, she looked at the embassy woman with red hair and green eyes. She had already told the woman her story. The newspaper, the three men in the kitchen, her dead son. "Can you go through your story again, ma'am? You did not give me any details," the embassy woman said. This, she knew, was her opportunity to talk about Ugonna. She realized that she preferred to die before she said a word about Ugonna to this embassy woman, before she sold Uganna's story for a visa to safety. Her son had been killed. That was all she was going to say. Killed. She did not want to talk about his laugh, how he loved sweets, how her husband said Ugonna was going to be an artist because he liked to arrange his Legos by color. They did not deserve to know. "Ma'am, you say it was the government?" the embassy woman asked. "Yes, they were from the government," she said. "Can you prove it? Do you have any evidence to show that?" the embassy woman asked. "Yes. But I buried it yesterday, my son's body." "Ma'am, I'm very sorry about your son," the embassy woman said. "But I need some evidence that you know it was the government. There's fighting between different groups here. I need some evidence that you'll be in danger if you stay in Nigeria." She looked at the embassy woman. She wanted to ask the woman if the stories of the newspaper, The New Nigeria, were worth the life of a child. But she didn't. "Ma'am, the United States offers a new life to victims of your country's government, but there needs to be evidence." The embassy woman said, "A new life. It was her son Ugonna who gave her a new life. The new person he made her. She loved telling new people that she was Uganna's mother." She wanted to go back to her hometown of Uminachi and plant flowers. She wanted to put the flowers by color on his grave, like Ugonna had done with his Lego blocks. That, she realized, was the new life she wanted. "Ma'am?" the embassy woman asked. She looked at the embassy woman's face. Her future depended on that face, the face of a person who did not understand her. She got up and moved to the exit. "Ma'am," the embassy woman said behind her. She didn't turn. She walked out of the American embassy and got into her car.